So a real brief overview of and this is part of a much larger training that is done for Fungicide U, but I'm going to be very brief here. I'm going to cover the three active ingredients that are the three chemistries that are in the sites of action that are popular in today's row crop corn and soybean fungicide brands. First of all, we have the strobilurins. Secondly, we'll go into the triazoles, and then lastly, we'll go into the most recent addition into our three-way mixes of the SDHIs. So just taking a look at these particular active ingredients, you can see that the strobilurins are typically very broad spectrum. They cover a lot of different fungal diseases in multiple crops. They primarily inhibit spore germination, so they are preventative only with very limited curative activity. Basically, think of the spore as like a seed, and the seed germinates under the soil. The spore germinates on the leaf surface and then infects through the cuticle. And so if we can stop that infection from occurring in the first place, we'll never have a lesion. These strobilurins also trigger physiological reactions in the plant, which often are attributed to inhibition of ethylene production within the plant, which slows the stress of the plant, gives it more time to produce chlorophyll, and we typically see a greener plant. But keep in mind, these strobilurins, especially when used as solo products, are very prone to resistance development within the disease complexes that we have in corn and soybeans. A second class of chemistries that's actually been on the market a little longer even than the strobilurins is this triazole chemistry class. It too has a very broad spectrum of fungal activity. It is primarily curative, but it does have preventative activity. It will not prevent a spore from getting into the plant, but once that single spore infects a single cell or a couple cells at the cellular level, if it is in the plant, it will arrest the development before a lesion is created, and those lesions then create new spores and new fruiting bodies. And so they do prevent not the initial infection, but they do prevent the lesions from developing in an already infected tissue. Most of the yield increases from the triazoles are, and they're not yield increases, again, yield protection is related to disease control, and these are described by most as moderate to low risk of disease developing resistance to the triazoles. And then the third most recent addition into our brands specific to Bayer are the SDHIs. These are highly specific to certain selective pathogens, very chemistry dependent from one SDHI to another. They are primarily preventative as well, with limited to some curative activity on the surface of infections. They, like the strobilurins, have a high propensity for resistance to develop to them, and most of their yield increases come from either disease or overall plant health processes within the plant.